AVC. This is Dylan from Noble Records. I had an interesting idea for a video a couple weeks ago and just hadn't got around to making it. But this video is going to be records that I found in the trash. Now, over the years, here and there, I've found stuff in the trash. Since I was a kid, you can't be too proud to dig through a dumpster, you know. And when I was a kid, I would go. There was a record store near our house, and it was a little podunk record store. It wasn't like they didn't get new releases or anything like that. It was all vintage stuff, and everything was $1. And the guy that ran the store, he had a strong belief that if you had records that were, garbage records like, Herb Alpert and Tijuana Brass, you should just throw them in the trash. Because a lot of people, they'll take that stuff and drop off at Goodwill, and the rest of the collectors are going through Goodwill just looking through absolute garbage. So he always said, better be just throw them in the garbage. And so I would go through his garbage, and sometimes I find some really good stuff that just was kind of beat up. And at that time, I had a record player that wasn't very good, so it wasn't a big deal. And I was able to listen to a lot of music that way that, I probably wouldn't have found otherwise. The best find I had from that, and most of those records that I found Allman Brothers stuff. Like some of my earliest Led Zeppelin records were ones that I found in his dumpster that just had some scratches on them, But this is the only one that I still have, to my knowledge, from that collection. Is this? Actually, was just the disc. But this is a Muddy Waters Blues Band, Luther Georgia Snake Boy Johnson. That's what it's called. Later on, I found an original promo copy of it. So it's basically Luther Georgia Snake Boy Johnson singing with the Allman Brothers, or the Muddy Waters Blues Band. But when I first heard this record, it was my introduction to the blues. I got this thing home. It just looked cool. I mean, I'd heard of Muddy Waters before. I was like 13 maybe. I'd heard of Muddy Waters before, so I mean the disc is it's pretty beat. But when I got it home, put it on my turntable, man, I just was like, I just had never heard music like that before. That was just so passionate, And I grew up. My parents love music, but they love their own kind of music. They don't love rock and roll and blues and all that stuff. So I was raised on country music. Reluctantly, I didn't care for it, and it's not the good country kind of music like Toby Keith and stuff. So if you like that, whatever. I gotta be careful in these videos not to say anything too offensive, but different strokes for different folks. It just wasn't for me. So, anyways, another good time. I found records in the trash. This is when I first started kind of buying and selling. A guy up in Asheville had a collection, and I went through to dig through his collection, and I picked some stuff out, and I didn't know at the time like how incredible the stuff was, but it was 90s stuff. It was Red Hot Chili Peppers, Pearl Jam, Temple of the Dog, like 90s Tom Waits stuff, like really good stuff. And all of his records were $5 each, which at the time I thought that was too much. I was like, man, I'm gonna pay like $1 each for these. But he's like, no, these are really worth it. They're $5 each, and so I did. And then after I started selling them, I was like, oh man, yeah, these are. And I wish I'd kept a lot of those. But anyways, I took some of them home, and I can't remember which album it was, but I opened up the gatefold, and there was water damage down in the inside of the gatefold. You know how sometimes you open it up and it's got like it's stuck to each other. So I called the guy. I was like, man, some of these are water damaged, and he's like, bring them back. I'll give you your money back, and you can pick something else out. So I went back to his house, and kind of he had looked through his collection, and he had them in storage at some point, and some of them, not all of them, maybe like 15 or 20 of them had water damage on the bottom, just a little bit. And he was such an audiophile collector, he threw them in the trash. And on the way out, I was walking out and I saw a box by his door of those records. And I was like, "You throwing those in the trash?" He's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Well, I'll listen to them. I mean, the discs are fine." He's like, "You can have them." So there was some like import Jimi Hendrix stuff in there. There was some Red Hot Chili Pepper stuff in there. I can't remember what all was in there. I don't know if I still have any of it. That was a long time ago. But so that was cool. But the most recent time was a couple months ago. This was before I was doing YouTube videos, but a couple months ago I saw a guy's ad on Craigslist. He had 3,000 records in his garage, and he went on in his ad about how good they were. How it was, rock and roll and blues stuff, and there's pictures. The pictures looked great. I mean, it looked like it was a lot of good stuff. So I called him and we kind of worked out a deal. It was going to be a stretch because it was like 2 hours away. So I got in my truck, drove down there. It was kind of a situation to where I didn't want to drive down there. I had a lot going on at the time, but it was such a good deal. I couldn't pass it up. So I drove down there. I always ask, have the records been picked through? Because if there's 3,000 records, somebody could have gone in and picked out 50 of the best ones and it not be worth it. So he said they hadn't been picked through, they hadn't been messed with, all that, he was very adamant about how it was really good stuff. When I pull up to his driveway, the garage is open and people are picking through the records. And I'm telling you, I don't know that I could have been more mad. I was furious. I'd driven 2 hours in a really busy day, I spent my whole day, so that's 4 total hours on the road. And I get there, and he lied to me. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times that happens. Anyways, I won't go into that spiel, but I get there, and I walk up, and I was like, "What's up, man?" Because I was a little bit early. And he goes, this isn't what it looks like. And I said, "Well, it looks like people are digging through the records we already agreed to a price on." And, and I said, "Man, I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed because a man's only as good as his word, and you lied to me. And so Lord knows what's in here and what's not, and what shape it's in and what's not. So I've got to spend the time to look through all this stuff, and you can forget about the deal we made. That's not even on the table anymore." I was pissed. That's so disrespectful. I mean, he knew I was driving 2 hours, and he knew that we'd already made a deal, and he wanted to take advantage of that and make a few extra bucks off the top, and I was pissed. So I started looking through the records, and he's assuring me no one's picked anything out. These are my neighbors. They weren't. And he told everybody that was looking through stuff, put everything down, and give me your numbers, and if he doesn't buy them, you can go back and buy whatever you picked out. They were mad. I was mad. I don't know what the deal was, but they put everything down that they were picking through. They left, and I went through the stuff, and it was not worth it. There was some decent stuff in there, but and I bought maybe 15 records from him out of that whole 3,000, and I said, "These have been picked through." And he's like, "Well, how would you know if they've been picked through?" And I said, "Because this is a lot of classic rock stuff. None of it's in good shape. There's no Led Zeppelin, there's no Beatles, there's no Pink Floyd. Anybody who bought classic rock in this era bought those bands. There's no Grateful Dead, there's no heavy hitters, there's nothing like that. All the stuff that people would have bought are not in here. It doesn't make sense. It's been picked through." And he reassured me 1,000 times that it hadn't, but bull crap. I knew it. I've been doing it long enough to know. Anyways, on my way out, I was walking out to my car, and there was a box in the top of his trash can of records. And I said, "You throwing these away?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Can I take them home?" And he said, "Sure." So it was a bunch of records out of their sleeves, and then a bunch of record sleeves. So he said, "I just hadn't wanted to go through and pair them together, all the ones, and you can have them because some, they're all from the same collection, and then, blah blah blah." So I get this box, and it's this big. There's probably that much in there of mixed records and sleeves. So when I got home, I just put a record on and sat down and started going through them and trying to pair up and some of the record sleeves didn't have records, and some of the records didn't have sleeves. But I ended up getting some decent stuff out of there. And I'm trying to remember what all was in there. I've kind of got a little stack on my shelf that was from that I'm trying to figure out what I want to keep and what I want to get rid of. But the first one that was in there is actually what we're listening to right now. This is this. When I first saw the sleeve, I got excited because it looked like this, which it says right here in the top, Led Zeppelin Live, but there's also a torn up picture of John Bonham right there. This looks like, I believe, the this picture that's been ripped up, it looks like the cover of bootleg called Caution Explosive, which I'll explain more about that in a minute. But as I was going through, it was just that sleeve, I ended up finding this. It's trademark quality on red vinyl. These trademark quality on colored vinyl, the vintage bootlegs, are really, really sought after and really kind of hard to find. I've only got a couple of them. The other disc is blue. I ended up finding both discs, so it's a complete set. And I printed this off the internet. It's like a, you know, just to have a cover for it. It's a bootleg anyways. But anyway, so I was thrilled, man. That was that kind of made me feel a little bit better that I got that. I've actually got the original. This is I'm sorry. This is Led Zeppelin Blueberry Hill. If you don't know this show, this is one of the most legendary Led Zeppelin shows. This is the one that's probably the most popular, I would say. And there's more recordings from this show, and it's called Caution Explosive, I believe. And I'm sure that I'll be corrected if that's wrong. But I believe that the recordings that weren't released on the first Blueberry Hill recording it was in a separate release called Caution Explosive, which is what that picture I believe is from. But anyways, Rob, I'm sure you probably know more about that than I do, but that's what I've heard and that's what I've done research on. So anyways, going through, I also found this is called the original Fleetwood Mac. This is on Sire Records. This is it says all tracks previously unissued. Some old, early Peter Green Fleetwood Mac stuff. Was really stoked to find that. Got this Chet Atkins Hum and Strum along. This is Chet Atkins Workshop. Got Nancy Sinatra. How Does That Grab You? Chet Atkins and his guitar. Sunshine Company. Sunshine and Shadows. That's all psych pop. Redbone. This one I was really excited about. Babe Ruth Stealing Home. I'd still like to get the original Babe Ruth, but that was really cool to find. This is like a pretty affordable Mariah Band's psych. Gabor Sabo, I guess that's how you say his name. Some like jazz stuff. This one I'd actually been looking for. This is of Cabbages and Kings, Chad and Jeremy album. Most Chad and Jeremy albums are not very good or desirable, but that one's got some psych to it. This is Zephyr, Mark Bolan's band. It's got some serious water damage on it. This is on Probe Records. So it's a pretty cool record. I'm sorry, this is Tommy Bolan, not Mark Bolan. But yeah. The Pinnacle Basket of Light. I'd kind of be looking for this one. It's not great, but it's on 1001 albums to listen to before you die. This is another Pentacle, Sweet Child. Cool record. Bo Hansen, Magician's Hat. See, a lot of the stuff was psych, which was pretty cool. There's this one, which I don't. I hadn't put a sleeve on it yet. It's completely beat. I don't think I'd ever put this on my turntable. This is Jimmy Smith. I guess it's just Softly as Summer Breeze. It's on Blue Note, but it is beat. Temptations 1990. Beast from the East Mandrill. This is I've seen this one around. It's like, I think this is a pretty cheap one. This is Lottie Golden. I've never listened to this. I don't really know what it is. This is Q-Choice. I'm not sure what this is. I mean, it's definitely some rock and roll stuff. This one I was pretty excited to get. This is cool. Limousine. It's like a funky funk rock type band. Really cool. This one, Rig. I haven't listened to this yet, but it looks really cool. I think that's some in the similar vein, like funky rock or jazz rock or something. This Johnny Cash record is just called Johnny Cash on Harmony Records. This is another Sunshine Company record. This one was really cool too. This is called Locomotive GT. This is some funky funk rock type stuff too, I believe. I listened to it and really liked it. I think it's like, you know, in that same vein. That wasn't in there actually. This is the Byrds, Turn, Turn, Turn. It's not in the best shape, but you know, it's there. And yeah, that's actually a couple of those snuck in there that actually weren't from that. So those are the ones I was able to pair up with the sleeves. So I was pretty excited to get that stuff. Just some decent. There's a couple Jimi Hendrix ones too. I've already put on my shelf, but they were, you know, nothing to write home about, but some cool Hendrix stuff. But you know, that kind of made the trip worth it. I only spent like $20 on the stuff I bought from him. I bought a Marantz receiver from him that was it had some issues with it. It was a 1060. It wasn't like one of the nice ones. And it like the power button was stuck. It had some issues with it, and I gave him, I think, $15 for that, and I ended up being able to sell it for, I can't remember how much I sold it for, but not a ton, but I made some money on that. So anyways, it kind of made the trip worth it. But you know, a lot of times when I go dig and stuff, people are like, oh man, you're getting records so cheap and selling them. But the thing is, you go through so much garbage and so many people lying to you that you know, sometimes you got to get some stuff cheap to make everything else pan out to be worthwhile. But anyways, that stuff is just some cool stuff that I probably will listen to and keep, and stuff like that. So I thought it'd be an interesting video just to talk about some things I found in the trash. You know, if you ever dumpster dive near a dumpster that's behind a record shop, you can find some decent stuff. I mean, even I've done it several times. Like if I don't do it anymore really, but when I was a kid, I did it because it's free records, man. Hey. I mean, I remember Lunchbox Records in Charlotte. I'd go all the time when I was like 15, 16. Every time I go there, I'd look in the dumpster, and what they'd be throwing away would be like real garbage. But you know, I would find some cool stuff. It was a fun way to get some free records. So now that I'm an old man, I don't really do much stuff like that anymore. But anyways, it does happen, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just thought it'd be a fun idea for video to do, and I had some extra time this morning. It's about 5:30, so hey, why not? Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the video.